Hey everyone, ready to kickstart those entrepreneurial dreams?
Oh, yeah,
Today's deep dive is all about setting you up for success.
for sure.
And get this, we'll be using this classic business book as our guide.
Classic.
It's called The Goal.
By Eliyahu Goldratt.
Exactly right.
A fantastic read.
And I know what you're thinking. A business book.
Oh, sounds dry, right?
But hold on, this isn't just some boring theory.
Not at all.
The Goal tells the story of this guy, Alex Rogo.
Plant manager.
Yep, and he's on this mission to save his factory.
From closing down. High stakes.
Totally. And you'll totally relate to his struggles. I mean, he's got demanding bosses, work-life balance is a mess.
And that never-ending pressure to increase productivity.
Every entrepreneur's been there.
It's universal.
And that's where The Goal gets really interesting.
It's more than just a story, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like a masterclass in this thing called the theory of constraints.
TOC.
Yep, TOC for short. It's a revolutionary management approach, really.
And who came up with that?
Goldratt, the author of the book. He was a genius. And this TOC, it gives you this powerful framework.
A framework for what?
Identifying and overcoming bottlenecks. Those things that hold you back from success.
Bottlenecks. Got it. So
Yeah.
we're talking about manufacturing stuff.
Well, it started there, but it applies to any system, really.
Any system, like what?
Business, your life, anything.
That's pretty cool.
Right.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Alex's plant is in deep trouble.
Trouble with a capital T.
3 months.
That's all he's got.
3 months to turn things around. Or else, boom, the factory closes down.
Talk about pressure.
Intense, right? I bet some of you listening have felt that kind of pressure before.
Those make or break moments. Everything on the line.
Definitely. So what happens next?
Great, picture this. Alex is at the airport.
Catching a flight.
Yeah, totally. And he bumps into his old physics professor.
No way.
Jonah.
What a coincidence.
Right, fate, maybe. But anyway, this chance encounter,
Changes everything.
it sparks all these questions in Alex's mind.
Yeah. About
Everything he thought he knew about productivity.
like a total perspective shift.
Totally.
So what's the big secret? What does Jonah reveal?
It's surprisingly simple, actually.
Oh,
Jonah's like, hey, the goal of any business, it's to make money.
okay. Yeah. That seems pretty obvious.
Right.
So what's the big deal?
But Alex, he starts thinking.
Uh,
He's been so focused on efficiency, on all these metrics, that he's lost sight of the big picture.
a bottom line.
Exactly, making money.
Wow. Yeah, I can see how that'd be easy to forget when you're caught up in the day-to-day.
It happens, especially to new entrepreneurs.
Right. So many things to juggle. You get distracted.
Happens all the time.
So how does Jonah get Alex back on track? How does he connect these dots?
Jonah's a teacher at heart, right? So he uses this brilliant analogy.
I love a good analogy.
A Boy Scout hike. Imagine a bunch of scouts, and they're on this hike.
Out in the wilderness.
Yeah. And they're trying to stick to a schedule, but they keep falling behind.
I've been on hikes like that.
Yeah.
Someone's always lagging behind.
Right. And then they realize it's this one kid, Herbie.
Or Herbie.
He's the slowest one in the group, and he's setting the pace for everyone.
Makes sense.
Right.
So, okay, I see where you're going with this. Herbie's the bottleneck,
Exactly. Every system has its own Herbie.
and we need to find him
Find him and help him out.
because he's holding everyone back.
Holding back the entire system, and that's what limits your output.
Got it. So in a factory, that bottleneck might be a slow machine or
A complicated procedure.
maybe even not enough customers wanting your product.
Market demand, yeah. That's a big one.
Okay, so how do you find these bottlenecks? I mean, do you just wander around looking for piles of stuff?
That's a good start, actually.
Really?
Alex, he starts by talking to the people who know the plant best.
Who's that?
The expediters, those guys who run around chasing down missing parts.
They have us seen the all.
They know where the holdups are. They see it every day. Smart. So it's about tapping into that frontline knowledge.
Exactly. And what they discover is sometimes the bottleneck isn't what you'd expect.
Like what?
It might not be the slowest machine or the least productive worker.
Then what is it?
It could be something simple,
Like what?
like a policy or a procedure that's slowing everything down.
Wow. That's sneaky. So it's not always the obvious stuff.
Nope.
Oh.
And that's why you got to look closely.
Makes sense.
All right, so you've found your bottleneck, your Herbie. Now what?
Yeah. What do you do about it?
That's where things get really exciting. That's where Jonah introduces these 5 focusing steps.
5 focusing steps.
Yep, it's this framework, this powerful tool to tackle those constraints.
To boost your performance. Interesting. So I guess we're saving those steps for next time.
We'll dive into them in part 2 of our deep dive.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone.
Ready for more? The goal. Oh, yeah. Last time we were talking about those bottlenecks.
Those herbies.
Yeah. The things that hold back your whole system, right? Exactly. Like that slow kid on the hike.
And it can be anything, right?
Literally anything. In a business, in your life, anything.
So we left off with Alex realizing he needs to manage these bottlenecks.
Right. He's got the concept now. He's starting to see the power of TOC.
But knowing and doing are two different things, right?
Absolutely. It's like having all the ingredients for a cake, but no recipe.
Exactly. So where does he even begin?
It's tempting to just try to make everything super efficient, right? Just crank everything up to 11.
Yeah, I guess I would try that. Just make every part of the system work as fast as possible.
Well, that's exactly what Alex does at first. He's got these really expensive machines in his plant.
High-tech stuff.
Yeah, the best of the best. So he thinks, okay, I got to optimize these machines.
Make them run at max capacity.
Yeah.
Seems logical.
Right. Got to squeeze every bit of productivity out of those babies. But here's where things get interesting.
Uh-oh.
What happens? He learns a valuable lesson.
Which is?
Focusing only on efficiency.
Can backfire.
Big time, especially when you've got bottlenecks in the mix.
So what went wrong?
When he pushes those machines to their limits,
Yeah.
it creates this massive pileup of inventory.
Whoa, hold on. How does more efficiency create a problem?
Because remember the goal, the ultimate goal.
To make money.
Exactly. It's not about producing as much as possible. It's about making a profit.
So what happened?
All that extra inventory, it's just sitting there.
Taking up space.
Yeah, and costing money. It's like buying a ton of groceries and letting them rot in your fridge.
That's a good analogy. So efficiency in the wrong areas can actually hurt your bottom line.
It can kill you, and that's a crucial lesson for any new entrepreneur.
For sure. So how do you avoid that trap?
Jonah introduces Alex to this idea of bottleneck and non-bottleneck resources.
Okay, break that down for me.
A bottleneck resource, that's your Herbie.
The thing that's slowing everything down.
Yep. It's anything in your system where the capacity, how much it can handle, is less than the demand placed on it.
Got it. So it can't keep up.
Exactly. And then you've got your non-bottleneck resources.
Which are?
Those have more capacity than needed. They can handle the demand. No problem.
Okay, so like if I'm baking a cake.
Perfect example.
And I have a super fast oven, but only a tiny mixing bowl.
Yep.
My mixing bowl's the bottleneck.
Bingo. Because it doesn't matter how fast your oven is if you can only mix a tiny bit of batter at a time.
Right. That makes total sense.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the problem with focusing on those non-bottlenecks? Like, why wouldn't you want your oven to be as fast as possible?
Because if you're constantly mixing batter, but your oven can't bake it fast enough.
Yeah.
You end up with a pile of unbaked dough. It just sits there.
Waste of ingredients.
And a waste of money. It's the same in a business. If a non-bottleneck is producing more than the bottleneck can handle.
You get that pile up.
Exactly. Excess inventory, which ties up your cash and hurts your profitability.
So the key is to find those herbies, those bottlenecks,
Yeah.
and make sure they're running smoothly. Get them working at their full potential.
That's it. It's all about balance.
Right. So Alex figured that out. Now, how did he actually find those bottlenecks in his factory?
He starts by looking for those piles of inventory. Where are things getting backed up?
Makes sense. Kind of like a detective looking for clues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He also talks to those expediters again. They know where the delays are happening.
Smart. It's like a new entrepreneur talking to their sales team.
Yeah.
To figure out which products aren't selling, or to their customer service team to find those common complaints.
Exactly. Get insights from the front lines.
So what did they discover? What was the big Herbie in Alex's factory?
They found this one machine, the NCX-10.
The NCX-10. Catchy name.
Right. It wasn't the newest or the fanciest machine, but it was crucial for a lot of their products.
So it was a bottleneck, even though it wasn't the flashiest or most expensive piece of equipment?
It was the linchpin, and it was slowing down the whole factory, just like Herbie on that hike.
Okay. Bottleneck identified. Now what? How do you deal with it?
That's where those 5 focusing steps come in.
Ah, yes. The recipe for success.
Exactly. It's a framework for optimizing your bottlenecks, for making your whole system work better.
Sounds good.
So, step 1, we've already talked about.
Identify the constraint, find your Herbie.
Right. Now, step 2 is all about exploiting the constraint.
Exploiting. Sounds a bit harsh.
It just means getting the most out of that bottleneck, making sure it's never idle.
Okay, so like in Alex's case, he made sure that NCX-10 was always running
Exactly. He assigned dedicated setup crews to that machine.
to keep it humming.
Yep. And they made sure that the most important parts were always prioritized for the NCX-10. No downtime.
Make that Herbie earn his keep. I like it. What's next?
Step 3. Subordinate everything else to that decision.
Meaning,
Make sure the whole system is working in sync with that bottleneck.
don't let anything else hold it back.
Right, like on that Boy Scout hike, you wouldn't want the faster hikers to run ahead and get lost, right?
Got to stick together.
Yeah.
Pace yourselves to Herbie's speed.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. What's step 4?
Elevate the system's constraint.
Meaning,
Invest in improving that bottleneck's capacity. Can you upgrade the machine? Streamline a process. Maybe even outsource part of the workload.
so like in my baking example, maybe I need a bigger mixing bowl. Upgrade my equipment to match that super fast oven.
Exactly. And finally, step 5. If you've broken a constraint, go back to step 1.
Meaning,
Don't get complacent. Just because you solved one bottleneck doesn't mean you're done.
there's always another Herbie lurking around the corner.
Exactly. You got to stay vigilant, always looking for ways to improve. It's continuous.
So how did all of this play out for Alex? Did those 5 focusing steps actually work?
They saw results almost immediately. Throughput went up, inventory levels went down,
The plant was getting healthier?
much healthier. It was a real turnaround.
Yeah.
But of course, it's not always a straight line to success.
Right. There are always bumps in the road. So what happened next?
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the goal,
The goal, yeah.
where we've been uncovering all these secrets to entrepreneurial success, using this awesome tool, the theory of constraints.
Exactly. And last time we left Alex, he was putting those 5 focusing steps into action.
He was starting to see some real progress, right?
Yeah, his plant was turning around, but, being an entrepreneur, running a business,
It's never easy, is it?
it's never a smooth ride, is it? There are always new challenges popping up, new obstacles.
There's like a constant game of whack-a-mole.
Totally. So what kind of roadblocks did Alex hit?
Well, one of the biggest ones,
Yeah.
getting everyone on board with this new way of doing things.
The people problem.
The people problem, exactly.
So I imagine some folks weren't too thrilled about shaking things up, right?
Oh, yeah. There was resistance. Some employees, they were used to doing things a certain way.
The old way.
The old way, yeah.
Yeah.
And they weren't so keen on changing.
Makes sense. Change can be scary.
It can be. And then there were some executives.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were stuck on those traditional metrics.
Like what?
Things like individual machine efficiency.
Got it. So they weren't seeing the big picture.
Not really. They couldn't see how focusing on the bottlenecks could actually improve the whole system.
So Alex had his work cut out for him. He had to convince everybody that this TOC thing was worth trying.
It was a tough sell.
So how did he do it? Did he just lay down the law? This is how we're doing things now, period?
No, he was smarter than that. He took a much more collaborative approach.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
He started by holding these meetings.
Okay.
And he explained the principles of TOC.
But in a way that everyone could understand.
Exactly. He broke it down, made it simple, and he really emphasized how focusing on those bottlenecks, those ERBs,
Yeah.
it would benefit everyone, not just the company's bottom line.
Smart. So he appealed to their self-interest.
He did. He made it clear that this wasn't about cutting corners or squeezing employees.
It was about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And what's really cool is he didn't just tell people what to do.
Oh.
He asked them questions.
Like, what do you think we should do?
Exactly. He guided them to discover those solutions for themselves.
He was more of a coach than a boss.
That's a great way to put it. He empowered his team.
Yeah, that's such a valuable leadership lesson. It's not about giving orders. It's about creating that culture of collaboration,
Exactly. And that's how he started to win people over.
So he tackled that people problem. But were there any other challenges?
Oh, yeah. There was this whole thing with accounting.
Accounting.
Yeah, the way they were calculating costs, those traditional accounting methods.
Yeah.
They weren't really reflecting what was happening on the plant floor.
So the numbers weren't telling the whole story.
Not even close. They were focused on things like individual machine efficiency.
Right. Which doesn't always translate to overall success.
Exactly. Those metrics, they could actually lead to decisions that hurt overall throughput and profitability.
Whoa. So you could be doing well in one area, but actually hurting the business as a whole.
It happens all the time.
That's a crucial insight for any entrepreneur. So how did they fix that accounting problem?
Well, they had to rethink their whole approach to measurement.
So they needed to start measuring what truly matters, right?
Mhm.
Progress towards their goals, not just individual metrics.
Right. They had to look at the whole system, not just the parts.
Makes sense? So they're tackling those people problems, rethinking their metrics. Things are starting to look up, right?
Oh, yeah. As they continued to refine their approach,
Yeah.
they saw some amazing improvements.
Like what?
They reduced their batch sizes.
Okay.
They optimized their scheduling.
Got it. And
They got a much better handle on inventory.
no more piles of stuff sitting around.
Exactly. The plant was becoming lean and mean
And their performance.
through the roof. They were shipping more products,
Okay.
meeting their deadlines, and their profits soaring.
That's what we like to hear. A real success story.
It was a real turnaround. But, there's always a but.
Uh-oh. What's the but? Didn't you mention something about whack-a-mole earlier?
Oh, yeah. So as they focused on improving those original bottlenecks,
Yeah.
new ones started popping up. It's like squeezing a balloon,
You push down in one spot.
and it pops out somewhere else.
So what did Alex do? Did he just give up, throw in the towel?
No, he realized that this is normal.
Normal.
Yeah, it's part of the process. As you remove one constraint,
Another one emerges.
exactly, it's like a never-ending game.
So it's about constant vigilance, always looking for the next Herbie to tackle.
That's it. You got to stay on top of it. And he did. He just kept applying those 5 focusing steps.
To each new bottleneck.
Yep. Identify, exploit, subordinate, elevate, and repeat.
Sounds exhausting, but effective.
It is. But it works. And as the plant kept getting better, Alex realized something really important.
What's that?
The power of TOC, it went beyond just improving the factory's performance.
What do you mean?
It was changing the people. It was transforming the whole culture of the plant.
So it wasn't just about the numbers.
No, it was about the people.
Interesting. So how did it change them?
Well, by empowering his team,
Yeah.
by challenging their assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
by creating this culture of continuous improvement.
He was creating a more engaged and fulfilling workplace.
Exactly. It wasn't just about the bottom line anymore. It was about creating a place where people could thrive.
Wow. That's a powerful message for any entrepreneur. It's not just about the product, the profits,
It's about the people.
the people. Creating that positive environment where everyone feels valued and can do their best work.
Couldn't agree more. And that's what the goal really drives home. It's a lesson that goes way beyond the factory floor.
So to wrap things up, what are the big takeaways our listeners can apply to their own businesses, their own journeys?
Here are a few to ponder.
Okay.
Number 1, always remember, the goal of any business is to make money.
Right, not just to be efficient or to produce a lot of stuff.
Make money. That's the bottom line.
Got it.
What else? Number 2, identify your bottlenecks. Find those hobbies that are holding you back and prioritize them.
Focus on the things that matter most.
Exactly. And number 3, realize that improving a system, it's an ongoing process.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right. It takes constant vigilance, adaptation. You're always going to have new herbies popping up.
You got to be ready to whack those moles.
Whack those moles. And I'd add one more thing.
Go for it.
Don't forget the human element. Create that work environment where your team feels supported, empowered.
Where they can thrive.
Exactly. When your people feel valued.
They'll be more invested in achieving those shared goals.
Absolutely. That's how you build a truly successful business.
So to all you entrepreneurs out there, remember those lessons from the goal.
Embrace the challenge of finding those herbies.
And focus on building a business that not only makes money, but creates a positive and fulfilling environment for everyone involved. That's how you win the game.
That's it for this deep dive, folks.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing those boundaries.